This is the introduction to Masechtet Yevamos. We're going to first discuss the mitzvah of Yivum. The mitzvah of Yivum is that a man should marry his brother's wife if he has a brother who had no children and died. It's a mitzvah for that other brother to marry his wife. The verse in Devarim, chapter 5, verse number 5 says like this: If brothers dwell together and one of them dies without a child, the wife of the dead shall marry outside the family. Her husband's brother shall go unto her and take her as a wife, and perform Yivum. That's the mitzvah of Yivum. The verses go on and continue and say that the firstborn that she has shall succeed in the name of her brother that is dead, that his name should not be blotted out from Israel. The Kinnick explains in Mitzvah 598 how it's possible for one brother to Makayim to establish the seed of his brother. We know that when you have a child, so that child gives you merit in the next world. If your child continues to do mitzvahs, so you get merit in the next world. So too if the Yivum lives with the brother. How does it work? Just like Adam and Eve, we know that Eve was created from the rib of Adam. So every man's wife is like a physical extension of himself. When the brother dies, the only thing that's left of him in this world is his wife. The brother is also connected physically with him. So by living with his wife, who he is like a physical extension of him, he will makayim. That child will now be under his merit. If that child comes into the world as the mitzvahs, so the merit is still going to go to the first brother. If the brother doesn't want to marry the woman, he doesn't want to do Yivum with her, so then he does the mitzvah of chalitza. We're going to discuss in another class how to do chalitza, but basically it means that he divorces her. He removes the zika, or the connection that he has to his brother's wife. Now, not in all cases where one brother dies without children is there mitzvah of Yivum. The first Mishna in Yevamos goes on to explain that there are 15 categories of women that do not have the mitzvah of Yivum or chalitza. For example, let's say Shimon and Ruvain are brothers, and Shimon is married to Sarah. Now Sarah happens to be Ruvain's daughter, so surely he cannot marry his own daughter, and therefore she would be pater from Yivum. Now the Mishna goes on to explain that not only is Sarah pater from the mitzvah of Yivum, but also Rivka, who is also married to Shimon. In other words, her rival, her co-wife. Her co-wife would also be pater. So if Ruvain's daughter is Sarah, he also couldn't do the mitzvah of Yivum, because Rivka is Sarah's co-wife, who's his daughter. The Mishnah goes further on to explain that not only that, but who's pater? Sarah Sehem, the co-wife of the co-wife, ad sofa olam, ad infinitum. How would it work? For example, Ruvain couldn't do Yivum with Sarah Rivka. So who did Yivum? Levi, another brother. But instead of Levi marrying Sarah, who was the daughter of Ruvain, instead he married Rivka, the co-wife. Fine, that's okay. Now Levi has another wife, Rachel. So now Levi has two wives, Rivka, who was the original co-wife to Sarah, and Rachel. What happens is Levi passes away. So now Ruvain cannot even do Yivum with Rachel. Why? Because she was a co-wife to Rivka, who was a co-wife to Sarah. So that would be Sarah Sehem. What does the Mishnah mean when it says sofa olam? One step further. Fine. So Ruvain doesn't do the mitzvah of Yivum with Rachel. But there's another brother, Yehuda. And Yehuda's going to do the mitzvah. So what happens is Yehuda marries Rachel. Now, Yehuda happened to have another wife, Leah. So now Yehuda has two wives, Rachel and Leah. Happens to be he passes away. So it's a mitzvah for Ruvain to do Yivum on Yehuda's wives. It happens to be he can't even do mitzvah of Yivum on Leah. Why? Because Leah is a co-wife to the co-wife of a co-wife. Ad sofa olam, ad infinitum. And these 15 cases in the Mishnah of forbidden relationships will pater Sarah Sehem ad sofa olam. The Gemara in Yevamos 3b states the source. Where do we know that a Sarah is pater? In other words, the Sarah really is not forbidden per se to Ruvain. It was Ruvain's daughter. So where do we know that a Sarah is pater from Yivum and chalitza? It states in Vayikra 18:18 that a man shouldn't take a woman and his sister to be a rival to her, to uncover her nakedness upon her in her lifetime. In other words, if a man is married to a girl, he shouldn't also marry her sister, but it's specifically in her lifetime. If that girl were to pass away, his wife were to pass away, so he could marry the sister. So there you had a forbidden relationship which was temporary. And from here is like the prototype or binyan of all the forbidden relationships that are pater from Yivum and chalitza. How do we learn it? The Gemara explains we learn it from the word aliyah, upon her. And Rashi explains that the word aliyah, upon her, is an extra word, because it's not needed to express the idea in the verse, which is that she's forbidden if her sister dies. What do we need the word aliyah for, Rashi explains? We have the word v'chayeh in her lifetime, so we already know that it's only when she's alive that she's forbidden. This is the source that the first Sarah is pater from the mitzvah of Yevum. We're going to learn in the next class, where do we know that the co-wife of the co-wife ad infinitum, what's the source for that?